Hi folks. So I recently learned about Hamclock and today I'm making a video on how to install it on a Raspberry Pi without a dedicated monitor. So this will be completely headless install. Um, this is convenient if you don't want to set up an additional monitor for your Raspberry Pi and you just want to access it through your web browser. I think it's a pretty neat way to use Hamclock. So this is assuming you have a Raspberry Pi and the appropriate power supply and of course a micro SD card. So we'll go ahead and open up our Raspberry Pi imager. So here we see our Raspberry Pi imager and we're going to select, so I'm using a Raspberry Pi 02W. Um, you can use really whichever Raspberry Pi you want. But keep in mind that Hamclock runs on um, Bookworm. It's a legacy version of the Raspberry Pi OS. So I'm going to select here. I'm going to select Raspberry Pi 02W because this is the Raspberry Pi I have. And then we'll choose, let's see, Raspberry Pi OS Legacy 64-bit. My Pi 2W, the 02W, can run 64-bit OS. So that's what I'll be selecting here. If you have a different Raspberry Pi, you'll either select 32 or 64. I know the original Raspberry Pi 0W, for that one you would select 32-bit. But yeah, so since I have the 02W version of the Raspberry Pi, I will be selecting a 64-bit version. And since we're running it headless, we're not going to need the desktop environment. So we'll see here it says a port of Debian Bookworm. Bookworm is what we need for Hamclock and the no desktop environment. So I'll select that. Oh, and this software can be found if you just look for Raspberry Pi Imager. It's the first hit on Google. So here we have our Pi selected. We have our OS selected. I'm just going to make sure I selected the right one. So 64-bit legacy Bookworm light, so no desktop environment. We can choose our USB device. It'll be your SD card, your micro SD card that you plugged in. Next, and then we're going to want to edit settings. This is what you're going to use to access your Raspberry Pi through SSH through your terminal. So I'm going to set the host name 02W. You don't have to use 02W. This is just what I have selected for mine. And you're going to want to set a username and password. And this is my Wi-Fi password here. I'm in the US, so I'll select wireless LAN country as US. American Denver is my time zone. Keyboard layout is US. And on the second tab here, you're going to want to enable SSH. This is how you're going to update and install Hamclock. It's going to be through SSH. So here we can select use password authentication. That's going to be the same password you set here for your username. Hit save. Apply OS customization settings, yes. And then it'll format your USB, the SD card. Make sure there's nothing on there that you want. Okay, now the imager has completed, and so this is write successful. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the SD card out of the reader. Okay, I've plugged my SD card into my Pi 02W, and now I'm just gonna plug it in. And it should boot up, and it should connect to our Wi-Fi, my Wi-Fi here, automatically. Now, I've already configured a static IP address for it in my router's settings. You know, I'd recommend doing that if you're going to be connecting to it a lot. It makes it easier so you don't have to find the IP address of the 02W every time you want to bring up your ham clock. So you can usually do that in your router settings. And I'm seeing it boot up here. It's flashing a little green light. So now I'm going to open up Terminal. So we see here, Windows PowerShell Terminal. So here is the command I'm going to use. So we're going to type SSH. This is my username on the Raspberry Pi. And this is my IP address for my 02W here at my house. So I'll give the Pi a little bit to boot up. And I'm going to hit enter. So it says the authenticity of the host can't be established. This key is not known by any other names. If this is the first time you've connected to your Pi, this is what you're going to see. I'm going to hit yes. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So now it's going to ask for the password you set earlier. All right. Now we're into our Raspberry Pi. So this is a terminal running on the Pi. So here I'm going to type just some things I like to type when I'm first setting up a fresh Raspberry Pi. I'm going to type sudo apt full upgrade. And this will just give you any updates that are available for the Pi, and it'll install them automatically. I'm going to run a few more here. So sudo apt update. So after the update, it tells me 20 packages can be upgraded. So I'm going to do sudo apt full, or no, upgrade, just upgrade. So it'll ask you if you want to continue with your updates. You can hit yes or no if you want. If you want to update it, you'll hit yes though. All right, our Raspberry Pi has finished updating. So here's where we can start to install Hamclock. So here at the Clear Sky Institute website. You can navigate over to desktop, and then here's the instructions to install Hamclock on a Raspberry Pi. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy these instructions, or copy the script here. And I'm just going to paste it right into the terminal and hit enter. So here we see the script will install Hamclock on the Raspberry Pi OS. Proceed, yes. Okay, now that our installation has gone a little bit further, so we're going to be building for web access only. So there's no hardware display, there's no keyboard or anything hooked up to my Raspberry Pi. So here we're going to hit yes, build for web access only. So the next question is your resolution for your Hamclock size. Since we're going to be accessing this with a browser, we can select any really size and the browser is going to resize it for you. So in this example, I'm going to be selecting 4. So that's 3200 by 1920. And the browser will resize it as needed when we access our Hamclock later. And this is going to take a while. Our next option is start Hamclock automatically each time Pi is booted. For this, we're going to say yes. So you don't have to come into the terminal here and command Hamclock to start. It'll just start right when the Pi is plugged in. So that's pretty convenient. Okay, so now our Hamclock is installed in the headless mode. So here, over on the Clear Sky Institute website, here on FAQ tab 14, we can go here, and this is instructions on how to do it, on how to use it without a hardware monitor. So this is the headless instructions. So here it gives you, the syntax for connecting to your headless Hamclock. So my Hamclock is, I gotta find the IP address. So my Hamclock is running on 10.0.0.204. 0.0.20. So I've already connected to it, trying this out. But you're going to type port 8081 and then /live.html. Oh, well, we have can't be reached. So I am going to reboot my Raspberry Pi. So sudo reboot. So the Pi is rebooting, and it should bring up our Hamclock because we told it to. Yeah, there it is. We told it to start Hamclock when the Pi is, is booted. So I hit yes, and so here is our Hamclock running on the headless mode. So this is accessed with our Hamclock's IP address 480.81/live.html. So I'm going to go ahead and hit F11 to get it full screen. And so here, this is Hamclock. So we can get started here. I'm going to enter my call. So from here, it's pretty self-explanatory on how to set up Hamclock. There's the good user guide on the Clear Sky Institute page. So yeah, and then F11 to return to non-full screen browser. So this here is really how to install your Hamclock headless mode. There was no monitors or keyboards hooked up to our Raspberry Pi this entire time. So I hope you found it useful if you're watching this video. And yeah, thanks for watching.